Okay. In the vast world of mathematics, proof plays a fundamental and essential role in the development and validation of mathematical knowledge. A mathematical proof is a logical and rigorous argument that establishes the truth or falsehood of a proposition or theorem. Okay, now that you know what is the meaning of proof, I'm gonna give you explication. In this case, the proof by contrapositive is a method used in mathematics to demonstrate the validity of an application or conditional statement. The contrapositive of a statement, if P, then Q is formed by negative both the antecedent P and the consequent Q and switching their order. So, the contrapositive of if P then Q is if not Q then not P. Okay, now I'm gonna give you a little example. In this case, as you can see, this is the example. As you can read, and I'm gonna explain how to answer it. Okay, first you have to understand that if a number is even, which in this case, for logic, we know that a number is twice another number. In this case, how the sentence is x is not odd, for logic is even. Okay, as you can see, I substitute the value. Now what we have to do? We have to factorize it, but in this case, how it's impossible to factorize this, I'm gonna make a little change. In this case, I'm gonna put a plus 1, and now we can factorize the sentence. Okay, now we know that it's very tedious, so for this case I'm gonna change this sentence for a letter, in this case to represent the number or the set of numbers. In this case I'm gonna use B. Now what we can do, I'm gonna write the sentence substituting the value of 7a plus 4 for 2b plus 1. Okay, now I'm gonna give you example about the counterexample. This is a method used in mathematics to show that a statement is false by proving a specific example that contradicts it. As you can see, this is example. Okay, first we have to write the prime numbers. In this case, I'm gonna write numbers, and now I'm gonna substitute the values. In this case, the first value 2 is correct, the second same is correct. This example is I saw in this case is not correct, and in this case the sentence is false. Honestly, I don't know how long I have been recording. Okay, now I'm gonna make example of proof by contradiction. First, the statement is square root 2 is an irrational number. Assume for contradiction that square root 2 is a rational number. Now, a rational number can be expressed by a fraction p between q, where p and q are integers with no common factor other than 1 and q is not equal to 0. So, let's assume that a square root 2 is equal to p between q, where p and q have no common factors other than 1. Now let's square both sides of equations. Square root 2 power to the square is equal to p between q square. In this case, this simplifies to 2 is equal to p square between q square. Next, let's arrange isolate p square p squared is equal to 2 squared 2. Now are gonna represent p as 2k squared is integer, and as you can see, this is the resolution of the problem, where d is even. Now, about the direct proof, is a method of proving the truth of mathematics statements by using known facts, definition, and logic reasoning to establish that the statement is valid in a direct proof. We start with the assumption or premise, then apply logic steps, and finally arrive at the desired conclusion. First, I'm gonna give you an example of direct proof. In this case, the statement is if n is an even integer, then n squared is also an even integer. Okay. Now, the assumption of this sentence is that n be an integer. In this case, we know that even number integer in this case can be represented like 2k. The representation of n as even integer since is even, we can write this as n is equal to k, where k is an integer. Expression for n squared. Now let's find the representation for n squared is equal to 2k squared, in this case 4k squared. Definition of an even integer, again by definition of even integer, is an integer that can be represented as 2m, where m is also an integer. Representation of an n as an even integer, we can rewrite n squared as n squared is equal to 2 to the 4 by 2k squared, where 2k squared is also an integer. In this case, the representation, and in conclusion, since n squared can be represented as 2 times an integer 2k squared is an even integer. Therefore, the statement if an even integer, then n squared is also an even integer has been proven to be true using a direct proof.